All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Quibbles Over Coffee. I, as always, am your host, Houston Watson, and
And
with
I'm the
us
other
we have
one.
Jonah Dubin.
I'm the other one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Here's my question.
Okay.
Speaking of other ones, notice how good I am at transitions. Very good.
Mhm.
Speaking of the other host,
Yeah.
meaning me, also meaning people who we bring on to the show.
Okay. But
What
they're
makes
not
a
hosts; they're
good
guests.
Okay, that's fine. What makes a good guest?
Um, I guess they have to bring something different to the show. Either like a different point of view, a different personality, a different energy. Uh, and they got to be interesting to listen to. But I think they also got to mesh well with the established ethos of us, I guess.
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Because here's my thinking. Okay.
Okay.
We've been doing this for like a month at this point, right?
Yeah. Oh,
We've been
yeah.
posting for a month. We've been doing it. We've been recording for like
3
2 months.
months. Yeah.
Like two, maybe
Yeah,
3
2.
months.
Yeah.
Whatever it's been. But we've been doing this for some amount of time.
Yeah.
We've been getting some amount of viewership.
Yeah.
But we have not become famous. And
No.
obviously, Houston, here's my hot take.
Okay.
We would be much better famous people than the vast majority of famous people.
Yeah, I wouldn't argue with that.
You know? Like,
Yeah,
I look
I
at the
agree.
famous and I'm like, I could do that.
Yeah.
And so I do feel, I don't want to say I'm entitled to fame, but the only reason I don't want to say it is because I would get in trouble.
Right.
It is true. I just don't want to say it, you know?
Sure.
So how do we become famous?
I don't know. I keep doing what we're doing. You got some famous influencers to like talk about
We beefed with
one of your
Sean.
points of view.
We beefed with Destiny. That's true.
Yeah, that gave us a lot of views on a video.
That gave us like
And
80 some odd views, which is like,
Yeah.
in the scheme of the world, not very many views. But in the scheme of
No.
this channel, it's pretty good, actually.
Yeah, it's the most viewed video on the channel.
Is that true?
Yeah.
It's the most viewed video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
like,
okay.
I feel like if we keep doing stuff like that.
So, okay, we could definitely do that. We could also do a
Yeah.
lot more response videos to like other left, like smaller left. Like, okay, the way you grow is through networking, right?
Yeah.
And I got to be honest, for us to network, what that would mean is most likely interacting with a bunch of other small YouTubers,
Right.
particularly a bunch of other small YouTubers whose audiences are potentially interested in watching our content, which means other small left-wing YouTubers
Yeah.
who focus on politics.
Right.
The easiest way, the two easiest ways to do that. One is like the Twitch panels, right?
Mhm.
Like 10 people on the panel. And it's very easy to get onto those panels, obviously. Like any idiot can get onto those panels because they're looking to have 10 people on it. And those panels end up getting anywhere between, 600 and 20,000 views, like live viewers, depending on who's on them.
Okay.
Right? We could do those. It wouldn't be that difficult for us to get into that world.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah.
There's two problems. The first problem is obviously I'm a dick, but you're less of a dick.
Right.
And I worry about like the structure of those panels and like what it means for like broad leftism, that those are like a thing that matter a lot in terms of online, like at least in the debate culture world.
What are you asking? What are you worrying about?
Okay, so when we're talking about like the small creators of YouTube and the small creators of Twitch,
Right.
a lot of interaction with other people. So the first problem is like we have to recognize that number one, everyone is flaky. Just
Sure.
everyone is flaky. They
Right.
don't show up when you tell them to show up at a given time.
Sure.
And they just are like, they are completely unprofessional
right.
all of the time.
Yeah.
Because of that, building your show on the presumption that you can talk to one person like on a one-on-one conversation or like a two-on-one conversation in our case,
Mhm.
is very difficult because they're all just so fucking flaky.
Right.
And so, like, that doesn't work. So instead, the go-to is to have panels that can have 5 people, so that if 2 of the people don't show up, like, it's
It's
still
no
a
big
panel.
deal.
It's still,
Yeah.
it's no big deal. You can
Okay.
still do it. And that's the reason that these panels are like the go-to.
Okay.
But the problem with them is that they suck.
Yeah, it's hard to have a conversation with 2 people, let alone 10.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that they would be very productive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
they suck.
yeah.
And I don't really want that to be our future, because I could imagine a future
Hmm.
where, particularly me, because I'm more of a dick,
Sure.
I could just like go onto those panels and just start screaming at people,
Yeah.
which admittedly, I'm perfectly good at that, number one.
Hmm.
And number two, I would enjoy it,
Yeah.
right? I do enjoy yelling at people,
Yeah.
right? It sparks joy in my heart,
Yeah.
okay? Which is probably bad. If we were going to psychologically unpack that, it's probably a bad thing, but it is a thing that I
Right.
enjoy yelling at people.
Yeah. It's something to unpack later.
It's something to unpack later. We'll
Future
save that
Jonas.
for
Future
later.
Jonas.
We'll save that for later.
Yeah.
But like, number one, it's not productive.
No.
And number two, this is going to be a little bit mean, but the audience that it attracts is a shitty audience.
Right.
The people who enjoy that like blood sport nonsense, where there's absolutely no undergirding like political like belief. It's just like I'm a communist. Roar! You know? I'm alt-right. Roar! You know? And
but it's not what we do on the show either. So even if they do come, they're just gonna be like, well, this is
gonna be like, what the fuck? These people are like talking.
Yeah.
Like humans like talk.
Right.
That's not what I signed up for.
Yeah.
So like,
interesting.
That's not really what I want to do.
Yeah.
But if we talk, like we had a conversation with our friend Eddie, who genuinely knows his shit on the topic we were talking about. And like genuinely is a smart guy, is like, but he doesn't bring in any views. No one knows who Eddie is.
Right.
We know who Eddie is, but no one else knows who Eddie is.
Yeah.
So the only people who we can talk to who will bring in the views are just these crazies.
Yeah. Or other people who are doing this who are flaky.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know what to do, because the people who succeed in the Twitch world of like the debate bro culture are the only ones who are interested in talking to someone who's of our size.
Right.
Because we have like, what did we have? 26 subscribers right now?
29, I think.
29. Holy cow. We're huge. We're huge. Yeah. 29. Oh my goodness. I don't mean to sell us short. Wow. That's pretty big. But like normal, like people who have 12,000 subscribers don't want to talk to people who have 29.
Right.
But the Twitch streamers do.
Yeah.
They all do, because that's how
they need anyone.
They need anyone. They just need to have someone to like back and forth with and just like yell at.
Right.
They don't really care who it is. They just need a person to yell at.
Right.
And I'm perfectly willing to yell at them too. But I just don't think that that's particularly productive. And I don't think that's like actually building us the long term. So who do we talk to?
Can we change the culture maybe?
I was thinking that. How do we do that?
Maybe like, well, I mean, I'd have to watch one, so I've never watched a stream that you're describing, but maybe like come in with a few like things to talk about. Maybe just like organize it. Like, because I get like you can only get so many people to come, but once they're there, you can kind of organize it to have like a debate or like a discussion based on the people who are there and like what they care about. You know? So you could have like I don't know, say like 6 people come at the beginning of the stream. They kind of each give the host a topic or an area of their expertise, and then they kind of plan out like, okay, for the first hour we're going to talk about this issue, for the next hour we're going to talk about this issue, for the next hour you talk about that issue. And so that kind of limits, I mean, it's hard to do. It'd be hard to wrangle those people to get them to move on to different topics. But if everyone like listens to the rules, and if everyone goes along with the, I guess, kind of plan for the night, you could have it so that it's interesting for the listener, because you're kind of talking about different things every hour.
Yeah.
And then you get the different people's opinions on the thing, and it's a more structured debate. And I'm sure they would devolve into yelling, but
That's my concern. So like, okay, let's talk about why they devolve into yelling.
yeah,
I think there's an underlying problem, which is the incentive structure. So, okay, if you're the host, your incentive is to have this like group of people have an interesting conversation so that it has lots of views.
right,
That's part of your incentive structure.
right,
But you have a second form of your incentive structure. Your second component of your incentive structure is that not all streamers are created equal. If you have a choice between having Destiny or having both of us, you choose Destiny.
right,
Why? Because Destiny is bigger.
right.
And Destiny represents literally thousands of views,
Yeah,
live viewers, right? And we represent literally like 5.
right.
If that.
Right.
Right? And so like that's a huge difference.
Mhm.
And so when you're having a conversation, like a good conversation should probably be a conversation by which like everyone is basically equal
Yeah.
in like the importance to the people who are running the conversation. Right? Like in a classroom, all of the students should be like treated relatively equally
Sure.
by the professor. But you can't do that when the student, or by the professor, their entire income comes from one student.
Yeah.
That's the equivalent of like the Dylan Burns podcast when Vosh is on, or when Destiny is on, and then everyone else is like a puny little Bastier, or like a puny little Daily Blend, or a puny little us. You know what I'm saying? Like
Sure.
it's just not the
Yeah.
same.
Right.
It's not the same.
Yeah.
And so that's a problem because they're constantly like, they can have rules, right? They can have rules, but those rules, they would be stupid to enforce those rules against the big cheeses. They can only
Sure.
really enforce those rules against us,
Yeah.
against the small people.
Yeah.
So that's the first problem. The second problem is the incentive structure for the different streamers. So the reason that the big streamer is on a podcast like that with a bunch of different people is because they're streaming. Destiny is streaming for 10 hours a day. That's a lot of streaming.
Yeah.
You get tired.
Sure.
So basically, getting on like a big group of people talking thing for Destiny is kind of his nap time. It is,
Yeah.
right? That's like when he's able to have lunch. That's when he's able to like sort of like, you know, mute himself for a second and talk to his girlfriend or his wife. I don't know if Melina's his wife yet, but like whatever it is, like that's his break time. Then it's for people like us, the exact opposite of our break time.
Yeah.
For us to succeed in that context, we have to be as loud as possible. That's how you win on a podcast like that. When there's 8 people and you're a small streamer, you have to like make your name there. You have to like pull in as many viewers to your stream specifically and beat the other ones. And you're not even just trying to beat the people who disagree with you. You're probably even more so trying to beat the people who agree with you, because you need to ensure that you are the one that they listen to rather than the people who agree with you, but are also just like not. So like it's totally fucked.
Yeah. It's like a bloodbath.
It's a bloodbath.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you can fix that when there are that many people in the group.
Yeah. This is unprofessional. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Here's my proposal.
Okay.
don't have people who are trying to make a brand for themselves on Twitch.
I mean, us.
What do you mean?
Why shouldn't we be on Twitch?
I know it's us, but I think that the problem is
Okay.
there's a real difference between people who are trying to make themselves into a giant Twitch streamer, right? And therefore their incentive structure is to just be as loud and bombastic as possible.
Yeah.
Versus someone who's like up in an industry. Like, let's imagine you're talking about homelessness.
Okay.
Let's think of two different kinds of guest. One guest is someone who's genuinely like involved in a nonprofit. The other guest, you notice how this one's the middle finger, this one's the pointer finger. The middle finger guest, this guest is the guest who's trying to make it on Twitch. This guest is the guest who's trying to make it in the real world.
Yeah.
If you're trying to make it in the real world, your goal is to get donations and your goal is to get volunteers.
Yeah.
You're trying to make it on Twitch, your goal is to get viewers.
Yeah.
Those are different incentives.
Right.
If your goal is to make people want to work with you, you want to come off as a good and reasonable person.
Sure.
If you're trying to get people to view you, you want to come off as fucking wild.
Yeah.
These are different incentives.
Right.
I think what we need to do is figure out a way to become just big enough that we can start talking to people in nonprofits and start talking to academics and start talking to people who like are genuinely in the real world.
Okay.
And then what we can think of ourselves as being is the sort of go-between between real world politics and Twitch politics. And so we'll have some Twitchers on our show and they will provide us the viewership numbers that we require for us to be able to succeed.
Okay.
But we will also have this undergirding legitimacy from these real people who are likewise coming onto the show.
That sounds like a plan.
That's my plan. But the problem is this. Yeah, sorry, go for it.
I don't know, just saying we could, and I feel like having gone to rich private schools and living in Westchester, we definitely have the contacts to get legit people on the show.
We do.
So that could totally be a thing. And we just have to market them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how do we do that?
How do we do what?
How do we bridge that gap? Because like, okay, we can easily talk to a Daily Blend and it's going to be spicy.
Right.
There were parts where I was screaming about how he was trying to steal my air, which admittedly he was trying to steal my air.
Right.
There are other parts where he's pretending that that Trump won the election.
Right.
Or that we don't know who won the election, when we clearly do know that Joe Biden won the election.
Sure.
Right? So like that's spicy.
Yeah.
The way that you have that conversation is a very different way than you have a conversation with someone who you respect.
Right. So you're saying, how do we have the conversation with someone you respect?
How do you have a conversation with both? I understand how you have a conversation with someone you respect.
I don't think you do at the same time anyway.
Interesting.
You have, because like I'm thinking, I mean, I know you work, I work with a podcast called Let's Get Civical, and they discuss like politics in a more like learning way. And so I think what we do is that you kind of like, we go on their show and kind of like discuss something like educational, and maybe they come on our show and talk about like have a more like discussion about like how to change something. And so you kind of bridge those audiences and you kind of like are trading. It's like a trade or whatever.
It's like a trade.
We bring a different kind of atmosphere to that show and kind of talk about something in regards to in their context, and they kind of talk about something in our context. And so you get those viewers to go between the shows, and you get the marketing, I guess, between the people. And so I think you just do that.
Interesting.
Because even if, I mean, like my mom is talking, she's a doctor, and she's going through all of these seminars about how to basically market yourself. And it's that the new thing is you're going to have to have like a social media presence as a doctor to be legitimate, basically.
Yeah,
And so anyone that we're going to have to talk to is going to benefit from being on a show.
for sure. Yeah, I think
Right,
academics in particular are like profoundly under online.
right,
The average academic just doesn't, they don't even know how to use Zoom really.
sure,
They
right,
kind of know how to use Zoom now, which is good. Um, because they've all like been teaching by Zoom.
right,
But yeah, they're just like profoundly undereducated
sure,
on how to use technology. Because the truth is that like the way that they make their money, a lot of them is at least in part based on selling books.
right,
But all of these books are only they're like written to only be read by academics,
yeah,
and they are to the degree that they're advertised at all, only advertised among academic contexts.
right,
And like that means that you're never going to be able to sell more than 400 books.
sure,
Also, their books are too expensive. Their
right,
books are like $60, which is like,
sure,
fuck you, you suck. But yeah, this is interesting.
yeah. And so even if they like them getting on any kind of show opens up the possibility for people to be interested in what they're talking about and for them to be more likely to buy a book.
Yeah,
So
that's interesting.
yeah,
So here's the thing, though.
okay,
The way that you succeed is a different way of succeeding, because like obviously I'm very spicy when
yeah,
I'm talking to Daily Blend. You can't be
sure,
spicy when you're talking. You can't be equivalently spicy in the same way when you're talking with an academic.
sure.
How do we bridge the
Uh,
gap where we maintain a level of spice that like we can?
I feel like you can.
Can
You
you?
can, yeah, you can say something spicy, and then they either have to back you up or like, what you call it, the opposite of that. I can't
Or
think
like
right now.
disagree with you?
Yeah, yeah. But
That's
of course,
interesting.
like as an academic, they're probably going to have more legitimacy, and people are going to think what they think. But it's an opportunity to have a discussion about like,
For sure.
because I feel like academics are painted as like serious and like rules and stuff. But I mean, they're people, so they like can have fun.
They can have fun.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Well, okay.
Well, why do you think you can't?
Because I'm worried that the okay, here's the way I'll frame it. Let's look at our channel right now.
Okay.
I'm going to share this
Screen.
channel, this screen. This is our channel. All of these
Yeah.
are designed to look, I don't want to say clickbaity, but they're designed to look in a manner.
They are.
Yeah, they are clickbaity.
Yeah.
And now let's compare that to like Democracy Now!, which is not explicitly academic, but it's much closer to being academic than we are.
Sure.
This is what theirs look like.
Yeah.
Theirs look like ABC or CNN.
Right.
They're not spicy.
No.
And Amy Goodman is not spicy. This is all a very different context. And like, if you're trying to get the audience that's looking for this sort of a world, these make sense as your thumbnails.
Sure.
The world of like younger people who are a little bit edgy.
Yeah.
But I don't know if this face, my face right there, give me a second. That face, I don't know if that face works when you're trying to talk to an academic.
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I think it's two things. I don't know why I said I think it's two things. I only had one thing.
Okay.
But I think I don't really know if it matters. I think so long as you're there agreeing to do the show. I think we can kind of be ourselves and talk about ourselves in our kind of, because I think the other things that we're ourselves as a brand is important. And so I think brand consistency is also important.
For sure.
And so I don't think changing what the brand is to fit a guest or another show, like being guest on another show, is helpful, because it's also, again, like not what we're
That's
doing.
interesting.
And so I don't really think it matters. I think so long as we agree to do the crossover, you can kind of just be yourself, because I think that's what you bring. Like that's why people are coming, and that's why people would come to the show. To get the kind of energy that we bring.
That's interesting. So here's my issue. So on the one hand, I agree with you. From like a brand consistency perspective, you're obviously right.
Yeah.
On the other hand, like, okay, let's propose a situation where the most advantageous way, the easiest way to convince the most people when talking to Jesse Lee Peterson. Jesse Lee Peterson is a crazy man. He's far right. We love him. We love him because he's hilarious, but he's hilarious because he is just an absolutely ridiculous man who has ridiculous opinions on everything.
Okay.
When you're talking to someone who's like almost their brand is to be ridiculous, I do feel that the best way to respond to them is to respond to them, and particularly to respond to their audience in a way that their audience will understand, which is to say, to mimic their behavior to some degree.
Sure.
To likewise be crazy.
Right.
But obviously, when you're talking to an academic, and an academic is talking to you in a pretty normal tone, is putting on the voice of an academic who is used to talking in the front of a classroom with a great number of students listening.
You can
to
stop
every
at
word.
any time right now.
Right, like the point is that, like, you have to talk to those people as different people, because they are clearly bringing a different like energy to what they're doing.
But I think the issue is that I think we're one part show like that, where we do discuss things in like a even keel manner, but B, we're also kind of a comedy-ish show where we are. I mean, I'd like to think that we're funny.
We're hilarious, Houston.
But that's just the other part of the show. And so I think part of the time we will have a like even keel discussion with them about whatever it is. But the other time you'll say something ridiculous, and it'll be funny, and they'll either laugh or they'll be like, oh my God, this guy's ridiculous and stupid.
And they will never come back.
But it doesn't matter.
It does matter. I want them to come back.
I don't think it matters. We don't need them. If they're not okay with the kind
with a little bit of spicy,
then we don't need them.
Interesting. That's quite interesting.
Okay. I really don't think that people are really upset, because like it's also, because I think the other reason why they would do a show like this is because we do bring something different, and it's not like academia, because like
that's a fair point.
We don't like, no one wants to be like in academia all the time. Like, it's boring.
Oh, I know some people who want to be in academia all the time. They suck.
Well, we don't want them on our channel.
They're the
worst.
They suck.
Exactly.
They suck. I hate them so much. They're so boring.
We want to have someone who will bring like important information,
but is also a little bit
is also down with like being silly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I support this. Okay. How do we get the viewers though?
I don't know.
Because we do need viewers.
Yeah, we do need viewers.
We need viewers. We need more viewers. Yeah.
I genuinely don't know.
Okay. When you go to like a BreadTube, do you know BreadTube?
No.
It's this Reddit group thing. And they have a lot of videos that are shared. And there's different kinds of videos that are shared there. Okay. One of the video types is the type of video that is like these debates with the alt-right or whoever it is, where it's just like the sort of the figurative stand-in for the audience, right? Dunking on the enemy, whoever the enemy might be, right?
Okay.
That's one kind of content. Another kind of content is like, here is new news that's happening in the world,
Yeah.
right? And that's pretty successful
Yeah.
in like that sort of bread tube world. Like, it's very shareable content. People will share it. People will like it. People will blah 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 blah. And then the third kind is what I think we need to build on, and that is the talk with the expert, the
Okay.
interview of the expert. Not really a debate, but the interview with the expert. I think we need to build that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's possible.
Yeah, no, I think it's possible.
I think it's harder, but I think it's possible.
Okay.
Another option would just be to become big by just doing whatever we need to with all of the stupids and just going on a shit ton of panels and just going rah, 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 being a bully, whatever the hell.
Yeah.
And then once we have an audience, we trick them into, haha, that's not what our channel is. Once we already have our audience. But first we build our audience by being assholes.
Yeah, I guess that would work too, because you get more viewers and the people once you do the change. But like, I feel the other fear is the YouTube algorithm doesn't like when channels change or do something different.
People say that, but I'm not sure it's true. PewDiePie
Really?
has changed a lot. PewDiePie changes all the time.
Yeah, but PewDiePie also has like millions of subscribers.
And he still gets millions of views all the time. There was never a point where
Right.
he stopped being a relevant component of YouTube. Whereas people who've stayed the same,
That's true.
Ryan Higa, Niga Higa, is like still, like, he's not getting the same number of views anymore. Smosh is not getting the number of views that it used to. They've stayed the same. They've stagnated.
That's true.
I'm not sure it's true that you're supposed to
Mm.
stay the same in perpetuity.
I don't know. So what?
It's a complicated
Okay.
world.
Yeah, it is. YouTube's a complicated game.
It is a complicated game. And the thing is, it's not even just YouTube. Like, we're not really playing
internet.
YouTube. It's the internet. You're playing
Yeah.
the internet writ large.
Yeah.
Very complicated.
Hmm. All right. Well, what are we gonna do then? We're gonna get.
Okay. So I've made a list. I've
Interviews.
compiled a list because that's what I do in my free time. Give me a
Okay.
moment to pull up my list. I have a list of guest ideas. And so I'm not going to share because there's some number of emails that, well, I can find them publicly. I don't want to just like share them with the world.
Sure.
But here are like the basic ideas of different groups of people. We want to have some like experts on universal basic income,
Okay.
experts on land value tax, people who deal with homelessness, with immigration, with land tenure, with gender and sexuality,
Okay.
with water access, with veteran mental health issues and PTSD, with pot legalization, because obviously,
Mhm.
trains people. We like trains people.
Yes.
Yes, trains people.
Chugga chugga.
Chugga, chugga, chugga. And public land people.
Okay.
And I think that should be our goal, to just try in the next couple of weeks to really figure out a schedule of when we're both free, and then interview a bunch of people who genuinely know their stuff.
Okay.
That's our plan.
And is that gonna get us views though?
I don't know, but I think it's worth giving it a test.
Okay. I'm down in the experiment.
Let's experiment. But also we should try to get probably onto some panels, and we should try to get, I don't know. Are you comfortable being spicy?
I don't have any spicy takes.
Are you comfortable being loud and aggressive?
No.
Why?
This is not my personality.
Yeah.
I also don't love it when other people are loud and aggressive.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
So,
I'm sometimes
no,
loud
I've
and
grown
aggressive.
to appreciate it with you because I've known you for a long time. But it's just like, I don't know. It's just annoying.
It is sometimes annoying.
Yeah.
That's fair.
But
Yeah.
I mean, I can also, I'll talk to Arden and Lizzie and see if we can do a collab with them.
That'd be
on
awesome.
Pacifical.
Yeah, let's do it.
So I
Fantastic.
think that would be a fun.
That would be very
crossover.
interesting. That'd be a very
Yeah.
interesting crossover indeed. All right. I think that's it for
That's
this
it?
episode. Yeah.
All right, so that's
Everyone
our
should like
plan.
and
It's like an
subscribe.
update video.
It's an update video. Everyone should like and
Interesting.
subscribe because we love
Uh,
them all.
Comment
sorry.
if you have any ideas for how we can grow.
And share this so
share.
that we grow.
Yeah, share with people.
It's very important that you help us grow.
Exactly.
Because as you help us grow, what will happen is we will be able to ask bigger people to come onto the show.
Yeah.
And then the quality of the content that you are watching on our show will precipitously increase.
Yeah, because we can get money.
Yeah.
And then we can do more of this.
Yeah.
So if you like this and want more of this,
Houston, imagine if we did this full time.
I
would love to do this full time.
That'd be insane.
This would be a lot of fun to do full time.
Yeah.
Just
It'd be a
talk
lot
with
more
people.
work.
It would be a lot more work, but it would be a lot. It would be a lot of fun because we'd be able
Yeah.
to talk with like many more people, bigger people. We would be
Yeah.
able to like have an influence politically.
We could
Be
like
fun.
go places.
We could go places.
Travel.
We could have a studio.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
I don't know if we want that actually.
I'd like I don't want to do this from my house. Well, I guess I would. I don't know. Wouldn't be in my house. It'd be somewhere. Okay. But I guess that's it for this episode. Like we said, like, comment, subscribe, share, follow us on social media because we got to grow on social media. And if there's anyone you'd like us to collaborate with, leave them in the comments.
For sure.
And yeah, we'll get on that.
We adore you. Bye-bye.
Bye.